now.
Hello, we're gonna work on showing you how to tie this knot. This is mainly for someone that asked me to do it, but I thought if it works out good enough, we'll just go ahead and throw it out there on the internet. But we're gonna make this knot right here. All right, this knot is a 7/6 2-pass, but what it is as a 5x4 interweave. And this is what I call if you're a whip maker, it'll learn to be your favorite knot. You know, usually the most common ones with American Bullwhips is the 5x4 3-pass or 2-pass for transition out 2 or 3 for heel like Indy. And the 7x6 2-pass, which Jackie used, you know, it's very common just to do 2-pass, but this is the most basic interweave you can do. And we're going to work on doing that here. We'll see how it goes. So with this, you know, being as multi-color, couldn't use the overlaid cap over. Don't worry about that too much. So what we did is I put a red cap because I'm going to make this a brandy and whiskey knot. But this is just a normal, starts off like a normal 7/6. Now, depending on how you want to hold your whip, doesn't matter. We're going to try to see how this camera does behind me, but I like to start on what I call the spine, or the belly side, or the natural curve. This is the spine. But what's great about this knot, here, does this help? What's a good angle? Is that it? See if I can do it right. I need my hands free. So with this knot, every knot you ever start, we're going to start with this basic cross. You know, because that's the start of every knot usually, unless you're, you know, no matter what. And now with this, so we're going to, so as you can see, this is going to eventually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like a little hexagon. So with that, we're going to understand that if you can imagine, we're going to have a hexagon here and a hexagon here. And the beauty of this is, with this knot, and one reason why it's so nice is we get to create the borders of the whole knot to begin with, instead of having to have a space that gets filled in or overlap down here. But we get to create the borders. So if we're going to imagine a hexagon, they're going to be on each side. So we're going to start here, and that'll be the point of a hexagon, and then this is going to be the strapped hexagon, but we just want to kind of have it exactly on the opposite side. Everything we kind of do as we come around kind of has that effect. So we're just going to try to cross them as best we can. It doesn't matter if I'm off center when I start. I guess I can twist around a little bit. But it doesn't really matter if I'm off center or whatever. It's still going to be the hexagon, but you kind of want to have this in the middle of what's going on. So we get that first loop. Anyways, it doesn't get too tight, but what we want to do is we're going to try to take the same width of this strand on every pass. We're going to try to come up around it. Now I'm going to start this over just because we're going to start it. So once again, so we're just going to make that first cross. All right. And then this one cross, it's just going to come out here. It's going to be tight. We'll explain later, but this is just going to try to have about the same space. And we may need to adjust it. And then it's going to cross up there too. And in a sense, there's two parts of this hexagon we're going to create. Now I'm going to hold it in place here, and I hold it in place here, and this is always very important because I can't let go of this strand without it falling off. Now this is the one time you have to hold on to everything when you make a knot. All right, now I just cut this to a nice sharp angle with a blade, but I got to go over this one. So we just did 2 over looping laps, and then I'm going to go over, or now that I went over this one, under this one. Now I'm not going to explain it very well, but I'll try, but I don't usually explain knots, so. But as you can see, and don't worry about how much, we're going to adjust some stuff in a minute. Just want to make sure this is pretty tight to begin with so then we can actually adjust it. So my first pass went around as a loop. So we went all the way around and did an over. And now this strand is going over this one, but now we're going under. All right. Most everything you'll ever do is an over and under, and this now starts to create it. So once again, I'm going to have this coming. You'll eventually see how it's going to create its own hexagon. But this is going to come in down here. Once again, the beauty of this is you get to create the border. And it doesn't really matter where these sit too much right now. These will be altered if needed, but just make sure they're tight. So now I'm going to try to, again, have this come up here, again, about a strand width in there. All right, now I'm just going to hold it in place. So now that we've come up to this one was an over, so now we go under. And just try to, if you need it, you can use your strand to kind of wiggle it in the spot. I really just want to tie this knot, but I realize if I got to top now, I'm going to have to really slow down this process. So, all right. So now this kind of creates, I don't know what you'd call this, but this creates our first little triangle bite. That's what I call it. It's not the name for it. And so we're going to now do the same thing here. So we just went under, so now we're going over. You can see that very well in there. And now this over is going to try to, again, follow it as most knots, depending on, you know, especially in a 2-pass, you're trying to give it just enough space for one. But I can let go of it here. It'd be better to hold it, once again, always kind of hold it with one finger to start, pick your way in, and then I'll pull it down a little bit or slide it where I think it needs to be, and then just slide that sucker in. I tend to always replace. I'm not going to always explain this stuff, but there's little things like that that help you hold the strand in place. But at this point, since I've already got the first 2 passes in lock, I can let go of the strand and it'll be mostly okay. All right, so we're on our 3rd pass. We come around. Now you see how this right here? It's better to have a little space here. We want to start, now we made our first little triangle bite here, just like up there. We want a little space in there, but it'll be tight in here into the triangle, and that's something nice to see. So we went over this because we came up here. The one next to it was under. So this one's coming up next to it, follows it on that top side, is gonna go over, and now we went over, go under. It's just a series of looking at it, seeing right over under. So now as we run up here, once again, we're creating a little bite, hold it in place. But again, we're gonna try to make sure everything is about a strand width going up into there. So now we come up to our next one, and like I said, if you just look at it, you can't see it very well, the light's bad, let me know. And so you see it, this one's under, so now I've got to go over. So I've got to go over this one, under this one, and then back over that one. Because see, there's an under, there's an over. So I got to go over, under. And you pretty much just repeat it. When I go up, I'm following the knot on the underside. When I go down, I'm following the knot on the overside. So there's my over and under. And all these over and unders is what kind of get it tight at the border. So now I'm going over again. Now a lot of people try to say when you read this tablet, it can be hard, and I'm not really doing a good job probably making this video, but they'll say it's an over, then there's an under and an over, and they'll just do this whole list around the sloop. You have a hard time keeping up on it. But what's good to know is things like this. Like, well, now that I'm coming over here, well, looking at this one, this is an over, so I got to go under. Looking at this one, it's an under, so I got to go over. But we're just going to take it one at a time. But once again, it's almost 2 at a time. And I'm going to try to find that spot where, I think you push down a little bit, but I want to find that spot where it's going to start making that better X. Just make sure there's about a good strand width coming through here. And once again, see, we have a little bit of gap there. So under, over, and then we got to go under on it. Like I said, you can kind of let go of it at this point, especially if it's already got something on the under. You don't want to pick up the sinew. You want to try to find a way to not get the sinew. All right, and then a quick pull and a quick slide is usually what gets this done. I'd rather tie this faster, but I guess I got to talk about it again. I just kind of want to do it. So once again, create the next spot. We're going to get it strand width up. You look at this one, it's over, so we go under. Like I said, on the way up, you fall on the bottom. All right. So this one's an under, we go over. This one's an over, we go under. And then we create that over up there. This is by far the easiest interweave to tie. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I know there are quicker knots to tie. Joe Strand likes this weird family of 5-part knots, but what they do is he'll do 3 loops and then interweave the last 2. He's already done the first pass. It's pretty amazing. I've got it on tape him doing it, but I haven't got to really master that knot yet like I want. I haven't got a chance to really try it. It's good for more like stock whips. Oh, sorry. So then I went over this. Now when I come over here, you can see that I go follow it under on the way up, and then I'm over on the way down. And right here, this is an under, so my next one needs to be an over. All right, so over, under, and now I'm going over again, and now here's my next under. And so once again, you don't want to really dig in any sinew. If you can find a better spot to get it, go ahead. And then this can also, I kind of place it into place, but everything should be really tight. And when you tie it, and then once again, I'm going to kind of pull it down here. Now, I wanted to see some little gaps there. You know, you don't need to worry about accentuating them, but there's going to be like strand widths here, gaps there. All right, so now we go over, you know, because we're at the end of this. But now, here's where we're going to look at both of them. See, this is an under, and this is an under, so we're going to go over this. See, these are both over, we go under. So what I'm going to do is just, now we're on the 6th pass, by part, I forget. I always mess those up. Like I said, I just know how to do stuff. All right, so there's the over. Don't worry about that right there. Turn up. So we had to go over, we had to go under. Following the pattern now, these are both under, so we got to go over. These are both over, we go under. This will complete the first half of the knot. So once we get to this. So we go under here, which does an over and an under. Now if you need to, you can always slide things down a little bit. It should be so tight it won't matter, you don't have to slide much. So now we come out the top. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is going to be the 6th one. So I'm just going to raise it up a little bit. And this one is the lead strand, so you can pull it. Oh, I didn't say I showed it. You can pull it back into place. Sometimes when you know when that one comes in, it helps a little bit with your orchestrating. Now some of these are all looking good enough. I might want this to come up a little, and this one will come up a little too, but either way, we're going to now follow the pattern. See, this one's over both, or under both. So we go over, and it's over both here, so we go under. And every knot technically is a 5x4 theoretically, and then if you just continue to do the process of the 5x4, it becomes the 7x6. Now, once again, so they're up, they're both under, we go over. All right, they're both over, we go under, and then we're gonna get a hold of this. If we need to situate some things here, like I said, there's a little bit of fid work you can do, but you do not want a knot tied loose. And the knot, say it's a couple times later, should be tied right the first time. You should not have to go with other fid work. But now you can look at it really quick. Kind of see that we have about, you know, a strand width square, about almost square everywhere we need it to be. Just kind of, if you need to adjust it a bit, go ahead. If you want, you can slide in here and go around the ring a bit, just to help get it off that lip of that, and also slide down the knot a little, that'll help. But this is why they call it a pineapple, really. A lot of these knots, once you braid a 7/6, pineapple interweave, because just the way it looks is a pineapple, because you've got it top and the bottom. The beauty of this now is, we're gonna do a two-tone, but we just came to our start, so in a sense, we'd start back on it, it would be here. Now, what you normally do is, I come over with this strand, and since I just came in over, I gotta go in under, and then what we're gonna learn to do is pop up in here. Now, if this is a one collar knot, that'd be great. Then I gotta talk to you about splitting pairs, which we'll see a lot more, but we're doing a two-tone. That'll make it easier, but this would go up there. Now, that being said, we're gonna introduce this. Now, let's see. One, there's a lot of reasons why this is one of the best whip making knot you'll do, but sometimes your strand width will be too wide, it will be too thin, and you're like, it won't fit. This is one of the few knots that just magically, if it's too wide, too thin, whatever, the way it's set up, you can adjust it, make it work. And what makes it good with a two-tone, which is nice, is that if these were fatter than this, I can get a thicker strand here and fill in the gaps, so you're not ruining a knot. So once again, this lead would normally go right here to follow the second pass. So now I'm gonna go with this one. All right, whoops. So this is introducing the whiskey. I don't have to make that little knot. Oh, there we go, that's it. All right. All right, now it shouldn't take long, and I'll just try to go fast. All right, so I'm just gonna give you a conceptual way to tie the knot. So here we go. We're now going to take this new strand and follow on the top on the outside, right? We're gonna follow on the top. Before we were following it on the bottom, now we follow it on the top. All right, so we follow this. If this isn't over, we're going over. If it's an under, we're going under. Not much happens till we get to the, oops, never mind. Start that over. Well, once again, pop it into the bottom part, following it up on the top side, or the right side of the lead strand. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. Well, that never happens, but I guess that's good. Yeah. We're gonna need to feed this back through a bit. There we go. Sorry, camera woman, I know you need to go. When I get done with this, I'll help feed horses. Get you out of there quicker. All right, so we followed it up on this side. I'll make these shorter. I wish this wasn't so long. That's one thing that's gonna get in my way, but no. I don't really want to cut it off yet because I still need that point to the lead. So we follow it. It goes over, I go over. It goes under, we go under. Yeah, I just pulled it through here too much, and then got this caught up with a few other things, and just everything got pulled through. So it's always good to make that tight. So now we're following the one on the top. Once again, we're following it on the right. So it goes over, we go over. Now here we come to our first triangle. Now everything is about hitting these triangles. So I'm going to fall it over, but now I'm going to dig in there. If you need to move this down a little bit or adjust it, that's a good time. Just pinch it and adjust it. But now we're going to go through. See that X? It's all about that X. See the triangle? It's all about the X and the triangle. I don't have to worry about pulling it too tight right now, but we're going to have it a little bit tight. And since I pulled it out, I'm going to slide it back a bit. All right, so we just came through this first X. Now, we followed it on the outside on the way up. We're going to follow it on the bottom side on the way down. So now it goes over, I go over, it goes under, I go under. All right. And we'll talk about, once again, this is still kind of like a loose strand in here for a couple reasons. That's because we haven't got our first pass, because on that first one we got it tight in here. This one we haven't tightened, so we want to be careful how much you pull that here and there, but it'll be all right. It's in a good spot. So I don't want to pull too much out through here, which it's kind of good I just did that. Don't want to pull it too much out here when I pull down here. Anyways, all right, so once again, all right, now this would normally, we're going to have this brandy. Would imagine that it would follow up here and that would complete the whole knot or complete it, right? So now this one's going to go follow this one still because we're on the downside now. We're going to follow it downhill. We go over, but here we get our first triangle. So I'm going to poke it through here. But this isn't tied yet, so it's going to be a little open like that. On a two-tone, that's one thing that'll throw you off. I could have a better point. Well, that sucks, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to twist it. You have to slide back through. We'll pull that back tight. Now I like to shove this in here and pull because we've already got our first kind of bite around it, so it's actually catching. Slide it in place a little bit. Now don't worry about too much of these gaps or spaces in here because that's going to be taken care of in a minute. So we would have just came through this triangle. Remember that X we talked about on the top side anyways. So we fold it over, stick it through there, but this is open so you don't really see it as well, and it can be confusing, but it would be like that. Now we're following the strand on the left up. It goes over, I go over, it goes under, I go under. And you know, at this point, you know, to slide in place, you can move it around a little if we need to slide our knot up or down, but I didn't need to do that so much. I was just kind of dramatically showing you. All right. Again, we're following it on the outside, so it goes over, I go over. But we hit this triangle again, so now we go through the two bottom. All right, but now what we want to do instead is, now that we got a match set, we call these a pairs, we need to go split the pairs. We're going to talk about splitting the pairs. It's the common thing on that, all right? So first time there was nothing there, so I just went here. But now when I go through it, we got a little whiskey. So we're going to slide it through that whiskey, which is technically like an under 3. It's kind of hard for me not to do this in my lap, so the real reason I'm having a hard time is the camera angle is really throwing me off. All right, I'm going to try it there. So we want to get in as smooth as possible, but I don't want to get too tight or too loose, and you'll see why in a little bit. So now we're on the downhill run. Oops. And sometimes you want, see that's the beauty of these triangles, these little X's, you can just like slide them into place a little bit. All right, but anyways, so let me just go up a little more too, so that would help. All right, so we'll tighten that up a little bit. So we're following this strand on the way down, we're on the downside. So it goes over, I go over. It goes under, I go under. And if you want, like I said, you can always slide things in when you pull things in different areas. You can learn to do those little slide touches. All right, so it goes over, I go over, but we're hitting this triangle. So once again, we're going to try to not get that sinew. And I usually don't pull out that triangle first. I usually try to go right where I want to go. But I want you to see right here. And we're going to see, now that we're at the end, we got to go through this triangle and make that X happen. But we're going to split the pairs. which the pairs now is the brandy and that. But what this is technically, this is the second pass, the whiskey is. So when you see a whiskey and a brandy together, this word can get confusing in one color if you only see one color. Brandy and whiskey, that's what we're talking about, splitting the pairs. Now, once again, now we're on the uphill. So if we're going uphill, just like, we're going on the uphill. We're on the right side of it. So this goes under, I go under. It goes over, I go over. The concept of this knot is a lot better than actually always making sure you remember a book, up, down, left, right. Just you get better with it. All right. Or up, under, one, over three, whatever. So if you want, bring it back down a little bit. Might have got raised up a little bit. All right. So once again, on the uphill, we follow the one left. We're on the outside. So we go over one, we go over one. But look, we got this triangle. Now that we've already gotten two passes, every third one now is all about splitting pairs. I go across the X and split my first pair. Because now we're going to have double pairs. All right, so once again, it's very important not to snag sinew. If you snag sinew, you're going to see little fuzzies stick out of the knot. Also, if you snag a sinew, that means you lift up a little loop of it, and then your strand might be running under the sinew. You just want to try to avoid some of that. Anyways, so I split my first pair, and as you see, this would be the end of the pair. Well, there's another pair. So what do you do with the pair? You split it. So I'm going to go over to under one. And this is now, once we get this down and around, this is 3/4 of the knot. It is basically done. All right, if I need to pull on this strand, All right. So now again, on the downhill, like I said, I'm always following this one, but you also got to obey the rule of splitting pairs. So now this is an over one, so I go over. It's a little bunched up, but once again, there's the triangle. If I need to, if you don't like your placement, grab another triangle out, slide things around a little. So now I got to go over through the triangle, but once again, we're going to be splitting pairs the rest of the time. Now you'll probably have to do this, the person I'm talking to, I made this for, you're going to have to do this with a one color strand. And it may get a little confusing. That's why I did 2 color strands for this video. I know that may not help, but it probably will. So we came through the X, split the first pair. That's the second pair. So what we do with the pair, we split it. Knowing this is coming over, we go under. Now, this is the fourth. There's 6 passes with the brandy. There's 6 passes with the whiskey. Well, we're going up on our 4th pass on the whiskey. So once again, we follow the one on the bottom, it goes over, we go over, it hits the triangle. It's pretty much just like I said, just a series of hitting the triangle, splitting the pairs. It's all this knot is about. Under 3. And then knowing how to pull it tight and just tight enough. That's good. All right, so. All right, so once again, we came through here and crossed the X, split the pair. So this is the pair we split. Now we go down here, we got 1 pair. So we got to split that, but we got another pair. And now this is where the rest of the knot now splits 2 pairs at a time. And as long as you got the, so this is the 4th one. We've only got 2 more up and downs. But if you look at it, it may look a little rough right now, but it won't be a little bit. But as you see it, you'll start seeing it makes like this zigzag, 2 down, 2 up. All right. You can kind of look over and be like, okay, that's supposed to go over, that's supposed to, or that's supposed to go over there, that's supposed to go over there. So this comes under, and if you're trying to figure out the rest of the knot, when you get caught, I'll figure it out. Once again, we're on the way down. We follow this side. It goes over. Well, there's our X right there. But we need to split the pair. Whoops. I think I might have snagged some sinew on that. I think I snagged some sinew, so I'm going to go higher up. Try to just avoid it in case I snag some sinew. You hear that little pop? That was sinew. I do not want that to come, or have to be involved in my knot at all. It's just a little bit of a bolstering filler. So I went through here, split the pair, and now it's just this will be my last ride up. Well, this is the 5th run up, but I mean, I'll explain that. This will be the last time I got to figure out what pairs to split. It'll be nothing but pairs after this next pass. So once again, we split this pair, but now here's a pair and there's a pair. So we got to go split pair 1, and I get sinew, split pair 2. And with two-tone, it can be a lot easier to see than brandy, because if you're not understanding the knot and you get to certain points on this, you'll see things. And you'll see when you do it with one tone out, it can be slightly problematic. And like when I'm adjusting this knot, I don't want to stick any sinew in there. I'll pull it out. You just got to learn to have good fid work. So now we're on the way up. We got to follow this side. It's an over, I'm an over, but once again, we're at the very last top of the triangle. Here's where I'm by triangle again. We're going to go under that X. If you need to, you can adjust a little bit, pulling, lifting. All right. We split the pair. We're gonna have to split the pair, and now I believe split the last pair. So now that this is the 5th on the whiskey, once again, if something happens like that, you're gonna pull it all the way out. Just twist it a little bit, spin it the way it needs to go. Give a good tuck through. You don't want to pull any of these too tight or too loose, and you'll figure out the appropriate amount. All right. So cross through, split the pair. And now we're going to see nothing but pairs. So this is a pair, this is a pair, that's a pair. So we're going to go split that pair, split this pair, and then we're going to have another pair we got to go over. You'll see the next pair in a minute. Everything else now is splitting pairs. By pairs, I mean match 1, 2, splitting couples. Okay. Should be that clear, all right? It's almost done. Not about too much of that. So once again, we're following on the downside. It's an over, but it's got this in the way now. So we just split this pair. This one now counts as a pair. So this is the first triangle one, and like I said, you'll adjust all these when you get to it. So it doesn't matter. Sometimes look a little wonky when we get there. So I split this pair, and now this is the next pair, even though that's the border. So I go through that X and I come out the side, and this is the last run. Oop. Should go slow, but that happens. Ooh, worked itself out in the end. All right, flipped and reflipped. All right. So get this out of your way. Once again, this is eventually supposed to go up on this side. Just going to readjust both these a little bit. So we came through the last triangle on the way up, split the pair. We're going to go in here, up pair. This is a pair, that's a pair. So we split this pair, split that pair. I could say overs and unders and twos, but I'm telling you, just to conceptually understand this now to be better. And now we just split that pair. We got another pair. You notice the border. This is where the border is the final pair. So what I do, I try to cross over both brandy and pull out one of the split pairs as my start. Now, all right, this is it. You're about done, camera one. All right. So we split this pair, pair, and another pair. That's what's going to be. So this is the first pair. Split the second pair. Since we're going under, or over. We got to go come out this other pair under. Just it's that easy. And this is the last part of it. I'm sorry, it's a little down. Sorry about that. All right. Now, this is where we had our first strand. All right, our lead strand. All right, we're following it on this side though when we come out this base. So look at this base. This is where our lead strand started. This is where it stopped. Now this one is got to finish its path up here, but we'll get into that. But I don't want to do the outside one yet. I'm still rolling on this inside interweave. So we just split this pair. Be careful you don't want to snag sinew at any of these points. Whatever you got to do to get in there a little bit. Okay. So I now get to go over and split this pair. When you're doing a single collar, right, the pair is right there though. So this would normally be here and you'd see the triangle. Alright, so it could be a little awkward with two-tone not to really see the triangle if you're really relying on triangles. But, oh man, rolled again. Strand must be a little fun. Alright, so we're right here, following this one up. We went under these two and split this pair. Now this knot is tied, but I gotta finish it off. This is my way, and I think it's one of the cleaner ways, although people may not enjoy it, or may not believe it. I'm going to follow this one into here. That's what Joe does. Follow that strand. I think it's a lot better to leave it like that, and we're gonna knock that off in a minute. I don't really like to go on, like crack a hole somewhere and then get the strand through here, and then you pull it out and you cut it and you shove it in. I think it misshapens the knot. I know a lot of people try to hide this, like hide it in the knot. And I don't really big fan of that. I think it makes more problems, it can mess up your knot work, and it also is technically add another layer on the underside, which could mess up a little bit. No, it's highly unnoticeable. I'm not insulting that. I'm just saying, I think no matter what, it's there. So you just learn to put it in the right place, and then you clean it up a bit. So once again, this is my very first pass at the brandy. And even if I did this all in one collar, this strand then, this whiskey, if it would have been brandy, would have followed this up where it's at there. Well, actually, where is that up here instead? You'll figure it out. Anyways, I'll help you with the follow-up piece of the deal. There we go. Now with both of these, all right, and both these out, give us a little tight check. And it's always good to kind of put my fit in here and just kind of slide everything in there. I'm not trying to snag anything. I'm kind of keeping it on the uptake a little bit. I like to give it a nice good roundabout. And this blade is not as sharp as I'd like. And this is risky, so don't try this unless you want to. I'm going to put this blade right in here in this groove. All right, so I'm kind of sliding it into the groove where this strand is. Be careful, it's a blade. And I bend this back like a door and I cut up and away. And you see that? That's what I like to do with burying the lead. Instead of like trying to find a way to tuck a gap in here and slide it in here and pull it out there and cut it and shove it down, so much cleaner. Now I know people really get obsessed with trying to bury this one. Well, it's a two-tone, so I might bring it down a little bit. I'm gonna do something very similar. I put my blade right where I think I can get it. I pull up on this strand, up and away. If you don't do it right, you're gonna cut your own. That's right, so find a better way. You can use scissors or just be very careful. But then I can use this one. And I use guys when you really grab it. This one's buried now a little bit under there, just cut off short. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna try to place this here, turn this up and away as I cut out. And then you still see them, but they're very faint. Now this needs rolled and shaped. But once again, once you tie a knot, you should not have to go back in here and then retighten stuff and change it around, and the knot should be tied. It's ready to roll, and if I roll it right now, like you would see it really smooth off. And maybe I should do that, but I don't think it's going to happen in this video. We'll see if I can make another quick video later and film before we add it at the end. Don't think it'll happen, but here's once again, the finish. 7x6. I forget these are bites or parts, but this is 6 here. And the 7 is how they cross like this, becomes 7. So that's why it's 6x7. But there you go. Two-tone, very easy, ready to go. We'd roll this. I'd do different things, but I'd also take care of this so it's smoothed off, but this will roll like a glove. Roll like a glove. It'll be so smooth. So smooth. Thanks for time. Thank you, camera woman.